Today we are going to see with the theory of demand cardinal approach, the consumption analysis. Consumption analysis is essential for any economic activity. The standard of living of the people is determined based on the consumption of the goods. So goods which is consumed with quality and quantity will determine their standard of living. So here consumption is the act that satisfying power of want. The consumption is defined as the use of goods and services for satisfying wants. So in economics, consumption is studied both at micro level as well as macro level. It is also called as economic science. So there will be no production, exchange, distribution without the consumption. So consumption is the end for any production activity. So producers produce goods to satisfy the wants of the people. So this consumption can be measured based on the ordinal approach and the ordinal approach. Cardinal approach can be measured. In the ordinal approach, utility cannot be measured. So this can be explained with the help of law of diminishing marginal utility. So the law of diminishing marginal utility, first it was given by the H.K. Guschen in the year of 1854, an Austrian economist. It is called as the Guschen's first law. After that, Marshall has refined this thesis, this analysis, and it is termed as the cardinal analysis, and it determines the characteristics of the consumption and want satisfying power of the people. The definition of the law of diminishing marginal utility, according to Marshall, he states that the additional benefit which a consumer person derives from a given increase of his stock of thing diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has. This law of diminishing marginal utility is based on the certain assumptions. So in economics, always we used to say that there is a ceteris paribus, which is called as other things remaining the same. Here also we are considering certain things will be constant, will remains the same. That is, utility of the money remains constant and the consumer's taste, preference, habits and fashions will not get changed. The consumption must be taken in continuous time span. Consumption will be in the homogeneous of the product. Commodity consumed in the reasonable size. Here we are taking our consumer is having a rational behavior, and this analysis is based on that utility can be measured. So the law of diminishing marginal utility states that initially any consumer consumes your goods, it has the more satisfaction, more want satisfying power. After that, marginal utility gets diminishes. So this means that after having a certain thing, the less satisfaction of the utility that he may derive from the additional unit consumption. That initially he will have this much of utility from a commodity. Same homogeneous commodity is consumed continuously. The last unit he will be derive only very little utility. So this can be explained with the help of a diagram and a table. So in this table, what was given in this diagram will be explained. So in the first unit, consumer derives the 20 units of an utility. So that is also a marginal utility. So here the marginal utility means that addition made to the total utility. So next, his consumer is consuming second unit. In the second unit, he is deriving the utility of 35. So the difference between the first unit and the second unit is 15. That is from 20, 15 units has increased. Now he has the total utility of 35. Then third unit he starts consuming. See, third unit it is decreasing little bit than the second unit. So but total utility is 45. So what he derived from the third unit is only an 10 utility. Then fourth utility again it diminishes. Total utility is 50, but marginal utility is only 5. So the fourth unit he derives only the 5 unit. So when after that fourth unit, fifth unit also he is deriving the same utility. So fourth and fifth utility, the total utility is maximum, which is denoted here as Q in the TU curve, and utility of the fifth unit is derived is 0. That is shown here as 0 utility in the marginal utility curve. So after this point, whatever the goods the consumer consumes, it will give only the negative utility. That also shown here. In the 6th unit, he is deriving the 45, but it is little bit less than the previous unit. That is 50. Now he is receiving 45. So generally a consumer gets negative utility, and then 7th unit, more utility, again it will be diminishing. So it shows that any consumer additionally consumes from a continuous unit, that utility will be give the less satisfaction only. So the utility from the 5th unit of an apple is 0, and utility from the 6th and 7th unit is negative. So this tendency is called as the law of diminishing marginal utility. Finally, what the law says that the total utility goes on increasing in the initial stage from 20, 35, 45, 50. After that, marginal utility becomes 0. The utility which is derived from the 5th unit is 0. So the marginal utility becomes 0. After marginal utility becomes 0, the total utility will be maximum. The utility which is derived from the after the 0 utility is the negative total utility. So total utility gets diminishes after the marginal utility becomes 0. This law is exempted from the certain areas. The hobbies, drunkards, miseries, music, poetry, and reading. These are all the hobbies. So the people who are having these kind of habits, they won't experience with the law of diminishing marginal utility, because they are doing that as they are passionate. Besides these exemptions, the law is criticized in the following grounds. The utility cannot be measured in the practical life, because utility is a subjective concept. It is differ from person to person. The law is based on unrealistic assumptions, and the law is not applicable for invisible commodities which we cannot see. Satisfaction, we cannot measure in terms of quantity. So in those areas, the utility, the law will not be applicable. So even though the law has certain criticism, it is important in certain areas where the consumption laws are applied. The law of demand, elasticity of demand, consumer surplus, and law of substitute. And it will help the finance minister to levy the taxes. More moneyed persons, more tax, and less moneyed persons, less tax. So this law of diminishing marginal utility is based on the progressive taxation. So this will help to be the economy, equitable distribution of wealth. So marginal utility of money is more, money is low. The distribution in income from rich to poor is justified. So Adam Smith explains the famous diamond water paradox. Diamond is a scarce, hence its marginal utility is high and its price is high. Even though it is not very much needed, water is abundant, hence its marginal utility is low and its price is low, even though it's very much essential. Thank you.